constant attempt at breaking down these systems, right? I don't know what's the purpose of having to show graphic, sexual details to children in elementary school, like you see, right? The bordering stuff that like pornographic material in text. It must be in a children. Like, why?
Yeah.
You have to destroy innocence at that, or like you can't let them figure it out. Whatever. And again, I don't give a shit, dude. If you're an adult and you want to be trans and you do it, great.
Yeah.
If you're happy, you're productive. I actually
Forcing it
don't
on
give
the
a shit.
kids
Like,
is
I'm fairly
that's the
liberal on the
crazy part.
issue. You force it on a 3-year-old.
Well,
you get parents and try to say a parent shouldn't decide, but your rainbow-haired freak show teacher should be able to convince a 3-year-old that they're doing this and permanently mutilate their body. That's fucking bullshit.
Well, I
and
think
we gotta call it out.
Yeah, I think because it's just the impression, like a child and the process of which they're learning. Like you're just, if you're shown something and you're already questioning everything else in your life because you're learning everything, then you're like, maybe this is me.
I mean,
or
you're a
maybe
kid.
this
You
is-
don't know better,
Like,
right?
how many
Exactly.
things
You're
did you
learning.
believe as a kid? Like, I thought I was, I could fly as a kid.
Right.
Like, my parents didn't let me jump off a building. You know what I mean? But like, you have, like, that's part of being a kid. You have an imagination. You have a creative process. But you see sort of the way that's all manipulated. Only one way. Only this. You can only believe that. And they're pushing it on people younger and younger. And then again, I don't understand what the end result, because I'm a logical, rational human being.
Well, it seems like if you break down, you break down family unity, you break down community, you break down people's ability to get together and like be powerful. It's like you're able to control people more easily. That's what it seems like.
Of course, it is control, right? You see that. You see it within the hypocrisy of all the elites that want to push climate change while traveling on a G650. It's like, oh, that's fucking wonderful. Like, your carbon footprint yesterday was more than the average American in their lifespan. And yet, no, it's okay because we're doing good.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
So when you say the elite, do you think that's our government, or is it like a foreign government?
I think it's a combination. I mean, I think it's, I think, you definitely see the push towards this globalism and this, sort of one world decision-making process. But again, not necessarily even controlled by a government per se, but a very wealthy group of hypocrites that, push this stuff on it, but don't seem to live by the actions that they would espouse everyone else live by. And you've been seeing that for a long time, and I think that's why you see sort of the attack on America and so many of the things that we hold dear, because maybe we're that last bastion sort of freedom, right? We saw that, prior to the pandemic, you'd have been like, okay, the U.S. pretty good, Canada's pretty good, England's going to be, pretty solid, Australia, New Zealand, like these are bastions of freedom and democracy, and it's like, really?
I guess after COVID, that just completely changed.
You saw it, and by the way, even here,
completely,
right? Like so many of the people that you were like, you'd actually believe that stuff, were like, okay, I'll be a sheep. Okay, there's no way that the virus started in the lab that studies the fucking exact virus in question, because the media told me it came from a bat 4 feet outside of that lab. Like, what? Like, man, like, really? Like, we've been so brainwashed. Like, the most plausible solution was always that. But if you did that and you said that, even if it was obvious and you were a doctor, you're fucking canceled, right? If you were a medical professional, you lost tenure. You'd lose your job. If you were a reporter reporting on this stuff, you were off the air. Like, when was it ever not, like,
well,
that's
that's what I'm trying to figure out, is like, how did this start? Like, how did it get this whole shift to this side of, like,
capture the flag?
Everyone's afraid of either saying this or they're self-censoring that. Like, even in these conversations, I find myself here where, like, there's things that I would really love to say, and I kind of, like, am like,
I think
like,
they've made it very clear that, like, if you speak out, like, what happened to, like, your father and stuff like that, like, even the president of the United States.
They canceled the most powerful man in the world.
They proved that, like, if you speak out, you're getting fucked. Like, even look what happened to Steve, our boy too. Like, you really can't. You can't win.
He kind of started
Like, you kind of
Dude,
can't.
and he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, you saw people forget. Now they're getting canceled because you saw the stuff with, like, Airbnb. Like, people were getting their reservation canceled because they were related to someone who said something that wasn't in line with that, right?
So-
You saw the PayPal push. Hey, if you're spreading misinformation, we're just going to dock your bank account $2,500 per week. Like, but are you guys the arbiter of truth? Or, like, is there some sort of neutral party? Because the fact checkers, I don't know that they've gotten anything right yet.
Well,
now, it doesn't stop you from fucking your account right now when they fact check you. And 6 months later, they're proven wrong, but it doesn't matter because, the damage has already been done. They've gotten what they've wanted. we do a great job of like, oh, we're dunking on them on social. We told you so. It was so obvious. But guess what? They still won. They got everything that they wanted to do. They weaponized all of those things. So even if they're caught later on, it doesn't really matter.
The scary part about this overall, besides obviously the details in it, is like the free speech of just like, I know certain things, I feel a certain way. Even that, I still feel a little uncomfortable. Like I self-censor myself to have certain conversations because I know of the outcomes, right? The idea of that itself is the most scary thing, because think of that concept if you're listening to this. No matter what you believe, whether it's this side, that side, up, down, I don't give a fuck. If you get to a point, we get to a point where people just go, oh, we can't talk about that. That's a scary society.
Yeah.
And it's even scarier now if we talk about all this AI shit, all this other shit that's coming on that's just starting to create, like, what's actually fucking real.
Oh, yeah, well, listen. Again,
two things
the educated elites that told you everything over the last years, like, their record, their batting average on what's right in the end is like 0. But, you're uneducated conspiracy theorist just using basic logic and common sense has been 100% right. And so, to your point about self-censoring, I see it myself, right? I will sit there, I'll do some video for social or whatever it is. I'm like, it's so clear to me what I'm saying, and yet I'm like, you know what? There's a 0.0001% chance that it could, so I gotta redo it again. Now, anyone looking at Occam's razor, right? Like the most logical answer is probably the answer.
Yeah.
Like anyone looking at it knows exactly what, but that's the point. The people who are looking at it, who will make a big deal of it, who have the power to cancel you, they'll tell you that the 0.0001% chance thing is 100% what you meant, not what literally any reasonable or decent human being would be like, of course that's what he meant.
Yeah.
And so you sit there and like, oh man, I gotta redo that. Like even I have to think about this stuff because,
But not even just that. I'm talking about literally not speaking about certain things because people are just like, you're self-censoring because you're just afraid because you know that that's what's going to happen.
But that's what's happening to the average parent. You think the average, let's even, if we're talking politics, do you think the average Democrat thinks that a 3-year-old should be making criminal decisions about?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
I don't believe that. Like, but guess what? Mainstream media, big tech, we're not in like an equal fight, right? There's this side, you've seen what they've tried to do in big tech. That's $1 trillion enterprise functioning as the marketing department for like a radical side of one side of an equation, right? Like mainstream media, same way. I mean, there's these sort of big blocks of huge juggernaut industries that are literally functioning against you. So it's making, notice, no one on the other side, if you push that extreme stuff, what would be extreme, the 3-year-old example, there's no cancellation if you say that on the other side. There's no consequence. I think you guys appreciate it. Did you see the study? Like, it's like 2 weeks ago, I saw that, right prior to the pandemic, it was like something like close to like 50% of females identified as bisexual. And yet during the pandemic, like 0% of those people actually acted on that. And it was because we've created this thing where it's like more socially, like it's cooler to be that than what they actually probably were, which is just straight, boring women, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This stuff is just so manufactured. It should be so obvious to so many people, but there's a consequence to speaking out about it.
But how to the other point, like, how do you think it got there? Like, why?
Well, listen, I think it's been going on for a long time, right? I don't think this is a new phenomenon. I don't think it's a phenomenon of like the Donald Trump era, of American politics. I think it was going on long before that, but like, I think Trump brought out the insanity on the other side, right? The overcorrection, that pendulum swinging so far that it just exposed so much more of what's been going on. Like social media, too. Social media, 100%, but also the controls within, right? Like, you see sort of the. People use the example of like TikTok in America versus TikTok in China. Like it's a psyop. Like in China, the videos that go viral are like a kid doing a physics project, like doing something like with his brain. In ours, it's like, how fucking stupid can you get, and you're gonna be a rock star. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Well, that's why some of us are here.
Well, listen, I'm not saying. Hey, listen. Hey, we're talking about my IG page. Like, I'm guilty of it myself, but like, dude, there's a difference. Like, if we're pretending this isn't a psyop to like destroy our country, whether it's just dumbing down, our society, encouraging sort of just the stuff that would break up families for this, between that, fentanyl, I mean, it just adds up. It's like, how do you survive that?
That's just such like a high level like operation to me. That's what's like so fascinating.
Well, like, it's
just
like,
like
so obvious.
I know, like, it's crazy to like accept.
Yeah, like they're literally destroying, encouraging the dumbest behavior, pushing the stuff that's destroying that family structure, all the things that would historically have statistically said, hey, you're more likely to succeed because of this. It's like, no, fuck all of that. Exactly the opposite.
Yeah. So what? Go ahead.
I want to ask, you said that stat about the bisexual stuff before COVID?
Yeah.
He's really interested in this part.
No, how do you think that's affecting politics now? Because I feel like there's so much focus on this person needs to be elected because they're bisexual.
Well, yeah, no, I'm listening.
But is that taken away from like?
Wait, that's
the
happening?
identity
Yeah.
politics thing is becoming
Can
a
you guys
huge
not
thing.
suck?
But do you think that distracts from like what their roots are? Because now they're like
Well,
focusing.
How
on
the
think it's-
fuck do
again,
we not do that?
You get social points for sort of saying certain
Yeah.
things. Like listen, you saw during the beginning of like BLM and like every suburban mother posting these things, and it turns out to be a multi-billion-dollar scam. But like they got the credit for posting their black squares. Like, I don't know, man. Like
The black square.
yeah, like the people that were marching these things and
post
wearing the
Black
sweatshirt and stuff like that. Like how many of them are really activists? Like
Yeah.
like it's bullshit, but they got to check off that box. And again, if you didn't do it, there was a lot of pressure. When you sort of perform. Like, I saw some of the people I know. They come to the most basic in a bad way. Like oh really? Like this person's now a social activist.
Enemy
Like,
captured
be
your
right, this
flag.
person's borderline idiot. Like they don't believe any of these things. The most privileged people in the world. I understand. I'm saying this coming from where I'm coming from. And they make me look unprivileged, and it's like they don't actually believe it because I know that.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, I got to do this because,
Sure.
and so there's a lot of pressure to do those things. And again, one way.
Okay, so I have a question. Is there any way, do you think, to ultimately make any of this right or like fair? Because the thing is, like, whether you're this side, that side, whatever, I feel like everyone is self-interested and like they're all in self-interest.
Well, but listen, I think you got to, to the point of self-interest, like you got to understand where things going, where they right? Like, where's the end game of all of this? Like, if you sit back and sort of, well, I'm self-interested now. Like, I don't know that there's much of a future for us. So I think the way to end it is enough people have to have the guts to sort of step up and do it, right? They can cancel one guy, most powerful guy in the world, the president of the United States. Now you get 175 million Americans, the other half, plus maybe some moderates who are like, okay, this has gone too far. Again, you can bring, like, yeah, I have trans friends. I don't care what they do as an adult. You push it on children, I got a serious problem with it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's an issue. If you have, whether it's, I guess, Aurora, Colorado, all 4
Enemy
trans
captured your
students,
flag.
where's the FBI saying, well, maybe there's a domestic terror threat? Here, the same people they called concerned mothers who went to like their PTA meetings asking about the indoctrination going on in our public school systems, they were labeled domestic terrorists by our FBI and DOJ, not like some lunatic on Twitter, but like by the highest levels of law enforcement in our country. But like you're telling me that 4 mass shootings in recent time by a group that makes up, according to the CDC, less than 0.6%. 0.6% of the adult population. So you add in children, and it's probably like 0.2%, 0.3% of our population. You're saying that's not statistically significant. 4 major incidents in a recent time. Identify as trans, non-binary, whatever it may be. We don't think that's a problem. Like, I don't hear any talk other than from a couple people who, perhaps like me, who are like, hey, wait a minute. Like this guy, the shooter the other day, like in their manner, you come after our kids, we're gonna kill your kids.
Yeah.
That's not domestic terrorism. No. Well, they're protected. It's different. Like we just need enough people to have the balls to actually step out and start saying this stuff. And once they do that, then the others like, oh wait a minute. It's a little harder.
Aren't they putting a stop to it like that in like London and stuff like that? Wasn't there something that went on there?
I'm not
England?
sure. I know over there. I
I heard some doctors
hell,
are getting, like,
there's people
sued.
going to jail for just being like called, misgendering people. I mean, I know that's a high crime and should be punishable by death and all, but like, calling a biological male a dude, like, I'm sorry, like, but again, like 5 years ago, could you even imagine having this conversation?
Nah. You know what's funny? This is kind of random, but on TikTok, a clip, because I want to ask you about this too. Your father talked about how if he started a women's basketball team, he would just go get LeBron James, and it's all over TikTok right now.
Yeah.
No, but I love that. But Brad, that bodybuilder that you were talking about that just had the 2-year lawsuit, was a guy transitioning into a woman.
Yeah, no, that was in Australia.
That's
right?
the most absurd shit. How
That
can
is the worst
anyone?
one.
How can anyone
Well, I went to-
possibly
I
like
went to
agree
Penn,
with that? I don't get
Which
it.
is the
worst
home
one.
of Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Right, the
That's just
swimmer
fucked.
that was a dude and like was a journeyman, sort of average, very not even average, like male swimmer that goes on to win the female national championship. Like that dude went to my alma mater. Like if I was there, like right in 2000, like if I was there at the time, my friends and I, we would have showed up with a keg, gone to like the swim meets, and had like the greatest time. They would be thrown out of school for even questioning like the insanity of this. So what I want to know, like, where are the soccer moms? Right, like, you know, I'm a dad of a daughter who's a really good athlete, right? You know, captain of her team as a freshman, yada, 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 sponsored by, like, she plays golf. And it's like, you know, you put her against 15-year-old dudes that are a foot taller and stronger, and it's like, it's insane. And yet, I see the dedication that she puts into, like, getting better and being the best that she can be. Like, every day, she comes home, she goes and works out, then she goes and plays golf. You know, doing a stretching routine, like, she's a machine. Like, and yet, you know, we'll go, you know, watch like the men pros play, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, where are the soccer moms, man?
That's
like,
psychotic
I've gone
to
to
me,
these
bro. I
things.
don't
Like,
know.
I've done like the triple header of like t-ball. I have 5 kids, so I got a lot. You know, it can be painful, right? I know you're not allowed to say that. It's you know, but like you do it because it's the right thing to do when you're a parent, right? But it's not always the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah.
You do it, but like. You don't think there's gonna be people gonna be gaming this system? They're not gonna arbitrage the shit out of this. Be like, I want to go to Harvard. Trans. I want to be an admiral. You know what I mean? Trans. Like,
Yeah.
2 weeks later, you can go be any of these things. It's just gone too far.
I feel like most people I talk to now, though, in person, like everyone kind of agrees with that.
I've
I've never personally met anyone that like,
But and yet, the push is so against that, right? That's what it's sort of what's interesting, right?
yeah.
I agree with you that a lot of normal people are totally either indifferent or just
Even like
think it's bullshit.
like even women, like
Oh,
women
no,
I talk to,
100%.
they're
I
like
see it,
they
by the
think
way.
it's stupid.
I
as
see
hell.
it with like my kids, like their friend. Like, you know, they roll their eyes. Oh, there's a furry in our class. Like they realize it's all bullshit, and yet the tiny faction of like lunatics out there has such control over the narrative. That's what's scary to me, right? Like the average person doesn't believe this stuff. I don't
think
think,
it's
and
like
yet
if
they
you're-
still have that power.
If you're over 18 and you want to do what you want, sure, do what you want.
Yeah,
But the forcing it on
100%.
kids and then like males participating in female
Well, it's-
sports,
okay,
is, like,
so the
that's
powerlifting
just
one's-
like so fucked
The
up.
powerlifting one's crazy because it's just like.
Well, but why isn't the bicycling one
Well, they're all-
crazy? Why isn't the swimming one
They're all
crazy?
crazy.
Notice
They're all-
they
any
also only
sports-
go one way.
Well, this is the thing. This is
So,
what I was
like,
going to say.
what's the end game? Like my dad's thing about he's right. He's going, I'd be the greatest coach in the history of women's basketball. I'd get LeBron to, you know, doesn't agree with his politics. That's fine.
How about the
like,
jail situation too?
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
The males going to like female jails.
And then they're just going around.
That's a pretty smart
By
one.
the way, that's like the
I might try
greatest
to
move
I might
ever.
try to
Like,
pull
yeah.
that.
He might be on that one.
If I ever get locked up
my
again.
They're just
That's
going around
smart.
impregnating all the female
Yeah.
prisoners. Like, ah, man. Like,
What the
That's
fuck?
actually
Yeah,
power
like,
move.
hey,
Yeah.
if they got me for treason, I'd probably be like, I'd consider it. Be like, it's probably a lot more fun.
This fuck.
But it's happening. And if we're gonna pretend that people aren't gonna game that to advance them, you know, I'm gonna get a full scholarship because I'm now the greatest female track star. Like, and again, what I don't understand is
That's a next level.
this silence from biological women, from mothers who've spent countless hours bringing their daughters to sports only to watch their scholarship get ripped out from underneath them. Like, where are you people? Like, I know you don't believe it,
Well, it's
but again,
virtue signaling.
You think? But do you think
well,
that's
of course, but
that's
that's
what
what I'm
it
saying.
is.
So
What'd you
they
say?
would rather
It's virtue signaling. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, I don't want to speak on this because like I don't want to look like
Well,
I'm
they are-
against
you
that.
think
dude,
they're
like
in fear
a
of losing their
trans
scholarship.
kid is like your watch in Hollywood. It's like, ooh, it's the latest accessory. It's the coolest. You know what I mean? Like, because it's actually more powerful for them. They get
Capture
more
the
social
flag.
clout by doing this, and perhaps even destroying their own children.
For
like,
sure.
you think any of these people, like, did they really ever believe this stuff? Like, come on.
It's a good point too. I want to talk about we were talking about TikTok in China. I've been like really fascinated with just like what's going on right now with like this whole World War III shit. That shit's like
Yeah, how close are
scaring
we to
me,
World
bro.
War III for real?
Well, listen, like the administration, like the Biden administration, currently said it's the closest we've been.
Do you talk to your father about that?
Oh yeah. Well, listen, he's the only guy out there. Like, he was the guy that he was going to start World War III. Notice, like, nothing happened under Trump. Like, and by the way, you notice how he's the only guy actually,
Current day,
actually being like, hey, we got to end this shit. Like, this has got to stop. Like half of even the Republicans are all in. Let's go to war with Russia. They have 1,000 nuclear missiles. What could go wrong? Like
Everything.
What could go wrong, folks? Who cares, right? Everything. Like it's insane. So the guy that was going to start World War III, according to everyone in the left, is literally the only guy that nothing happens to under his administration, but is the only guy down, being like how insane this is. For, by the way, the Ukraine, which is by many instances rated a more corrupt country than Russia. Like we're pretending this is like this angelic, bastion of democracy. Like that's bullshit. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that you're right either. If you say that, then you're a Russia apologist. It's like, no, I think I can call out bullshit on all sides. I just don't know why America, with the problems that we face, with the shit that's looming over our heads, we're going to spend $130 billion. And that's just the beginning, right?
It's gonna be close. What's the interest there then? They did it. It's got to be about money somewhere,
There's a lot of people
right?
making a lot of money.
In what way there, though?
Well, like the military-industrial complex is selling missiles to a regime that's using them, and we haven't been in a war of our own in like 6 months, so let's get in a proxy war with Russia.
But we had COVID. That was dope for money.
What's that?
We had COVID. That was really
I guess
dope.
that's two different businesses,
that's the whole
right?
Big
That's
war,
pharmaceutical.
Big war. Watch Big Pharma get rich for like
They got jealous.
Our turn.
We haven't been in Afghanistan in like a year. Like, guys, we got to turn.
The big pharma guys were taking all the hot chicks from the military industrial guys, and they're like, "Hey, we gotta ball up a little bit."
We gotta end that one real quick. And but it's what it is. You see. So it's funny. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I was like, dude, like even when you see like the woke generals now, doing their, I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's like, well, no, there used to be sort of this outlet when they retired from the military, they'd go work at Big War somewhere and get paid a lot of money and do all that stuff. There is a general sort of, other than the insanity of Ukraine right now, like no one wants to be in these endless wars anymore on both sides. It's almost like a bipartisan issue, other than Ukraine, which has taken over the religion of climate change and all of that. But there's not that desire. So now the outlet is getting on these public company boards. All these public companies are woke, and so you could be like the general, but like he's with us and woke.
Enemy flag carrier.
Rob O'Neill had a lot to say about that. They tried canceling me a couple months ago. I said like, hey man, I spoke to some buddies in the team, and they're like, they spend more time doing diversity training than like shooting, like in the SEAL team. And like I said it, I put it out, and I woke up and they're like, oh shit, you're trending on Twitter. Like everyone's saying this is bullshit. I'm like, it's not there. He doesn't know any of these people. There's no way this happened. There's no way this conversation is happening. Like Rob O'Neill goes, he's 100% right. Like that shit is happening. It's happening even at the highest levels. Like I want my SEALs to be able to like kill bad guys. Like I don't care if they're blue or green. It means nothing to me. Like let them do that job. Like the diversity training has nothing to do with their mission. And yet, if you listen to like sort of the woke people, it's everything. And it's gonna make us a stronger fighting force. They can't articulate how. But it is, and that's the gospel. And if you don't, you're an a terrible human being.
So how close did you are to World War III?
Oh, like I said, we're the closest we've been since the 60s. And the Cuban, no, that's from the Biden administration. They said that we're the closest we've been to nuclear, war fallout since the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was pretty close. And if they're saying that,
active camo inbound.
Imagine what it really is, right? If
Even
they're like
closer.
actually out there, like, okay, well, listen. It's not ideal, that's them whitewashing.
Active camo.
And it's still like saying that out loud, like.
And I think the whole China-Russia shit, how they,
well,
she just visited Russia. That was like, scary shit,
She
bro.
visited Russia.
Little
They're
cheers.
forming an alliance. They're getting Saudi in there, where they're gonna work on like getting rid of the U.S. dollar, the petrodollar, right? So that means we can't
right now,
borrow
oil-
the $32 trillion that we have anymore to allow us to live way beyond our means as Americans anymore. That's happening, and like the White House is having, the cast of Ted Lasso in to talk about, like, we're not serious people anymore, guys. Like,
So oil can only be purchased in the U.S. dollar in the world
yeah,
right
that's
now, right?
basically, it's like the reserve currency of that, right?
Yeah.
So everything's traded in dollars. Because of that, it basically.
You're quite.
I mean, I'm not
It makes
the
our
best
currency
sort of-
powerful, right?
It's essentially turned the gold standard into like an oil standard, right? Like where there was backup by oil. You get rid of that. People start calling our debts. We can't spend this really because we can't borrow like we do. I mean, if you managed your household like we manage our country, you'd be bankrupt. They can keep going back to the trough. You lose that ability because of that.
What
It's a
happens?
serious.
The dollar just
like
collapses.
it's a total collapse of probably
we're
our
fucked.
society, right?
And then
like,
what?
Think of how
Fucking
much more we
chaos?
spend than what we earn. Like, eventually you gotta pay the piper or we're doing for our children and our grandchildren with insurmountable.
Is that turning the U.S. into anarchy if that shit happens?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what it does, but it's not good. I think you basically lose, and maybe part of that is that idea of globalism, right? You lose the hegemony that America has had, like the sort of the power they've had over. You lose all of those little extra things that we've had that the rest of the world hasn't benefited it, and that's a problem.
Do you know the significance of what happened with like the Saudi and Iran deal? Could you explain that to us?
Well, if the Saudis are now, and China is negotiating peace deals between warring factions on the world, what does that do to America's place as sort of the leader of the free world? Like, China's doing this, and again, we're worried about, Joe Biden's having press conferences about ice cream. Like,
That's real.
Is that real?
yesterday. Dude, that was like how he opened
But is
his
that a
thing.
real clip?
I thought that was AI.
Yeah,
No,
that was
dude,
fake.
I don't think that's AI. That's not AI. That's Trump. Like,
We watched it on the way
Bro,
over
so
here.
this is like, but this is a
Really?
big thing. This AI shit is like, at
oh yeah,
some
the
point.
deep fake thing is real, and but that's not real because I would have seen the fact checks on it, and I saw like a lot of prominent sort of right-wing people calling that shit out, and it's still up, so it's probably not a deep fake. But we have a president that can't understand sort of the gravity of a situation where 6 people and 3 kids were just murdered by a fucking lunatic, and that's
Why is it not being blasted?
listen, if it was a Republican, what do you think would happen?
It'd be blasted
Yeah,
everywhere.
of course, because everyone's sort of like, it's okay. We're just gonna, again, the vast majority of the people reporting on it, the vast majority of people talking about it, the vast majority of the outlets where this stuff could be seen, they're sort of with the other side, and they're gonna do whatever they can to protect it. That's why, perhaps only some of the talk now coming out in sort of, again, the age of Trump, because the overreaction to it is so extreme that reasonable people watching are like, wait a minute. I don't know, There's got to be something to it.
Do you think there could ever be like a true news outlet that is just not biased? Because all sides seem to have their
Well, I don't know.
biases.
Listen, people, they've done this thing. If you don't like it, build your own. So people have gone out and done it. Like, I did that, just with I created a news app, right, with some
Active
friends
camo
called
inbound.
MXM News. And it aggregates news from all over the place. Like, we'll put the New York Times up and we'll put Breitbart next to
Enemy
it. Read
flag
both.
carrier.
Figure it out for
Hurry the
yourself.
flag back to
Like,
base.
2 weeks
You're
ago,
exposed,
like,
Spartan.
my
They know
partner
where
in
you
the
are.
deal calls me. He's like,
Active camo
hey, dude,
available. Enemy flag carrier.
our bank account's at 0. I think someone hacked us. I was like, what do you mean? There's like $750,000, like in our operating account of this business that takes all sides, allows you to see both sides, like in an app form. And it's like, so he calls the bank. Oh yeah, checks in the mail. Major bank, a PNC bank. Like, oh, the check's in the mail. Yeah, we don't want to do this. Close out your account. They didn't even fucking call. Like, they broke up by text. You know what I mean? Like, they just sent you a check in the mail of what was in your account. Didn't tell you why. And that wasn't even like, we're not even making it. We're just allowing people to see both sides.
You're just aggregating.
And that
news.
was enough
Yeah.
to be like, no, you can't possibly see both sides of the story. You must listen to, the talking points, and that's all you're allowed to actually
This is
say.
the thing, guys. Like I said earlier, it's the scariest thing is like at what point does the shit just implode then? Because it's like whether it's this side or that side, it's like wherever it lands. Because at some point the pendulum always swings. It's
Enemy
like
flags
people
in
should be
allied
very
hands.
afraid of the fact that they don't want you to believe or to see certain things because maybe they're not on the same page. It's like, what if that swings that way? It swings this way. It's
Right,
like,
I mean, I guess they should fear that, because you would never want, if you're on the other, you'd never want that same stuff happening to you.
exactly.
But I think the way they control so much more of the power of the ability to do that they'll take their chance.
What if all?
Meaning that they're okay with the idea of suppressing you because they know it's not likely to really ever reverse, and that's why it's just so important for people to actually sort of step out of that shell to start getting more comfortable. And again, you can do these things respectfully, right? Like, there's a way to have these conversations. There's a way to have the dialogue. There's guys like me that are going to go a little bit further because I have to. Right? But then you can take my points and sort of mute it down and still talk about the facts that are underlying.
Yeah.
I have a question.
You could talk about the truth.
Why do you feel like you have to?
Dude, because I have 5 kids. I want to leave them a country like they could recognize. Like, again, it would be a lot easier for me to shut the fuck up, be a real estate developer from New York City. Would have been a hell of a lot easier for my father. right? They've been trying to throw him in jail for 6 years now, 7 years. They still trying to do it every day, right? Like on nonsense, and like they're gonna get it this time though, folks. You know, but I guess I don't know.
Can I
you get pushed hard enough, and like it's a fight or flight, right? I guess I fight.
Yeah, I get it. Can I challenge you a little bit on that? Do you think that part of you does it because like it also does make you more popular and more polarizing in that sense of like?
No, because like, listen,
I'm not saying you're right or wrong.
Like I lived in New York City my whole life. Like I moved here because I had to. You know what I mean? Like I had to get out. Like where, you know, that's like I told you, I've done 50 hours of testimony before various congressional and Senate committees for treason. Like, you know, that's not fun. You know what I mean? Like when they're trying to, you know, go after your business and, you know, hundreds of millions in legal fees to fight back. Like that's not fun. You know, like I do it because, you know, I got in that game. I believe it, and now I see sort of what we're up against. But like, the reality is, like, I didn't do it. Like I could kill it by being popular. Like, you know, I sort of, I was never tried to be in the limelight. You know, prior to that, like basically, I got in the limelight when my father started doing The Apprentice. They're like, "Hey, can you do this?" I was like, "Okay, sure." But like, there's nothing with me before that. I didn't really want to do it. But once you're sort of pushed into it, then you do it, and then I think perhaps the bigger part, like, I sort of have a long history of sort of my politics, and you know why I am the way I am. Right, my mom, who passed away last summer, like she escaped communist Czechoslovakia.
Active camo.
Right,
Inbound.
she did that. She was a good athlete. Like she was an Olympic skier. You know, during one of the Olympics, like left the country and like didn't go back. You know, I remember seeing the picture as a kid of my my parents' wedding, and I was like, well, why is my grandfather there but my grandmother isn't? And it was because they wouldn't let both of them out of the country to go to their daughter's wedding because they knew they were never coming back. So my grandfather, you know, brought me over there as a young kid. I spoke Czech fluently. They're a big part of raising me, and he brought me over there so I understood just how sort of awesome we have it over here, just how precious, like everything. I've waited in the bread lines. I've seen what those systems do to people, and so, you know, that started some of my political leanings. And I've seen what those things do. That's why I'm sort of like, no, can't happen here. It's like, actually down here in Florida is a great example. Like all the people from Venezuela, all the people from Cuba, like they're all like super conservative because they've seen what these systems, like they're like, this is not our first rodeo. We've seen this crap before. It's not as nice as the academics want you to believe. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You know, I then, you know, I went to boarding school in central Pennsylvania, a little town called Pottstown. It was the home of like Firestone Tires. And it's like this sort of, you know, it was like an elite boarding school. I get it. You know, but like in the middle of this town that was like Rust Belt America, where just the rest of it was falling apart. And you saw sort of the decline of sort of, you know, American manufacturing and all of the things that made, you know, so much of what the country was about. And so that started pushing me a little bit more into it. And, you know, and then once they went after us, I was like, hey, I'm all in. But like, I do it because I actually believe this shit. Like, and I'm doing it because, you know, if I've been blessed, and I get it. Like I have been, you know, way more than blessed. Like, you know, but if I have that platform and I can use it to fight back, I'm going to do that, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I got respect.
What's going on right now with the former president's like arrest and the indictment and stuff like that?
Dude, I mean, I legitimately don't even know. But I mean, you know, it's like, it's weird. You sort of get desensitized to it in a certain way. Like I'm pissed off about it, but I'm like, oh, they're gonna arrest me. Oh, you mean it's Tuesday? Like, here we go again, right? I mean, how many times, you know, and then it's like, this is like the most ridiculous of all of them. And yet, you know, you still got to deal with it. I mean, I guess they could try.
Is he actually going to get arrested?
Like, I don't know. That was the rumor. But then you also hear the people from, you know, again, we lived in New York our whole lives, right? You hear people that do have sort of inside scoops, and they're like, dude, the DA's office there is like, like, even like radical leftists within are like telling their friends who we know, like, holy shit, like, I can't believe this is going on in America right now. Like, and it's so obvious, right? Like, it's so flagrant. Like, this is the dumbest thing in the world, and yet they're gonna keep going. But, you know, hey, this issue is so important, but, like, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's person, like, she went to jail for 25 years for apparently trafficking children to nobody, because we won't see those lists, and there's no consequence. It's like,
crazy.
Really? Like, so you're going after Trump, but this stuff's not an issue? You put someone in jail for 25 years for apparently doing nothing because no one else partook? I don't understand.
Because they're not speaking about the names, yeah.
Yeah, like, and by the way, people are like, well, Trump knew him. I'm like, you know how Trump's not involved? Because if his name was on that list, it would have leaked already.
For sure.
like, it would have been-
100%.
like they didn't read like the redacted list, and there'd be one name, like just unredacted Trump. So, but yeah, dude, crazy times. Like, and that's the difference. Like, that's what's good about Trump, and perhaps that's what's good about even if Trump, in 24, Trump is like a lame duck, can just go in and break all that shit up. You're not trying to get reelected again. You can just do everything that you need to do, and that's the difference. Sort of being beholden to your donors, being beholden to the establishment class. The Paul Ryans. Like, this is great. Like, he literally was like, well, I'm not so worried about. That's not a big concern. You mean the weaponization of our government against its citizens? On stuff that literally every person who's looking at it objectively, including many on the left, they're like, holy shit, this is scary and bullshit. It's not really a big issue.
You're talking about
like,
the case against Trump.
I'm talking about the DeSantis sort of
said.
lack of comment on it, right?
Right.
Like, really? Like, you mean, like, to me, as a conservative, as a Republican, as someone who's been in those crosshairs, like, that's probably one of, like, the biggest issues we face as a country. You see Matt Taibbi, the guy who's the reporter who broke all the Twitter files about what happened during the election before. Like, yesterday he testified before the weaponization of Congress committee, Jim Jordan and those guys. And like the day he does that, the IRS goes and raids his home. Like, we still think that's a coincidence? Like I don't believe in coincidence anymore. So if you can't call out like literally the weaponization of governmental institutions against your citizens, come on, guys.
So DeSantis has like big donors, like the former president's donors. Was that all just raised by like individuals?
Yeah,
and
well,
stuff?
no, you have
What's the
big donors
difference
on all sides, but we did a big, we had probably the greatest small dollar donor campaign in the history of America, right? Blue collar Americans, like $33 average kind of donation. And you can see, you just look up the stats, right? The people donating to the other side, this guy's worth $9.12 billion. You know what? They want a president when they call, picks up the damn phone. When they say jump, they jump because you need that check. You need that lifeline, right?
It's fucking crazy,
and so
man.
you see that, like with the donor class, make no mistake, guys, like the donor class, even in Republican, sort of, they don't have the same viewpoint as like the blue collar sort of, let's call them MAGA Republicans, right? It's gonna be tough on China, but yeah, not if it costs me an extra cent in my widget. You know what I mean? These sorts of things. There's a lot of hypocrisy. So they know that Trump doesn't really need that. Trump doesn't sort of look the same way. DeSantis is a career politician. Like, guess what? He needs that money. And guess what? He needs that money again to further the goal and again. And so he's got to act when they say jump, he says how high. And that's the nature of politics. It's why they went after Trump so hard, in my opinion, because they don't want other people who don't need them in power.
Of course.
Right? They don't
Well,
want that.
power.
They want to show an example. Like, this is what happens. Like, you have a good life. You're a fucking billionaire. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like, you want to think twice. Because we're coming after you too. Right? And so when you see that weaponization and you're not willing to call it out, guess what? Like, they'll do it to him. If DeSantis ever becomes the guy, or any other Republican ever becomes the guy, like, it's easy when you're trying to pit someone against Trump. They'll do whatever they can to help you so you can take out Trump. When you're the guy, that's a whole different world. That's a whole different story. And if that's the way you're going to handle it when they're doing it, generally speaking, what are you going to do when you're in the big show?
That's crazy because he obviously is doing a good job with Florida and the way he handled COVID. I liked, but it is interesting now when I saw you say that he just has a bunch of big donors and he might be sold to them.
Yeah, when
With
Paul
Trump was
Ryan's
so
going
good,
out
'cause,
and endorsing, and Jeff Rowe comes and runs his super PAC, and Karl Rove is down. Really, like you want another Bush administration? That's
Yeah,
fine.
'cause
Like,
we don't wanna
if
go
you
back to
want
that
the
either, right?
Bushes, you can have that. That's a great avenue for you. But like, that's what it's been proven. You can hire a bunch of influencers to clip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To clip you dunking on some local reporter and like make it go viral. Doesn't mean that's real. It's just that's the nature of that game.
How do you think these elections are going to go? Because I feel like even the left doesn't really want Biden.
Well, I mean, but you look at him,
Not yeah.
I guess the only problem is like you're sort of rooting for Biden because like the alternative Kamala Harris, and that feels significantly worse to me.
So where do you think it goes? Who like?
I don't know. I legitimately don't think running again. He didn't
shot,
have to
too.
run last time, right?
Yeah.
He hit in a basement, and they called him out, and they weaponized COVID to sort of mail-in balloting and this and that, and they, you know, of course, what could go wrong? It's the safest and most secure election ever. Why? Well, we don't know, but we said it, therefore it's true, and
Yeah, but do you think Trump actually has a chance again? Or do you think they made him like look like bad enough of a guy that he wanted?
well, again, I think he clearly has a chance because I think people have woken up, right? Had they been like mild on the issue, had they told you the truth about anything, had they not like sort of perpetually lost their minds, like the mass hysteria every time anyone said anything, like, yeah, it'd be harder. I think looking at what the average person has now seen, like, I think he's got a better chance because I think they're like, hey, he's the one guy that will actually try to break that.
Halfway to victory.
I saw that Ivanka and the Kushners aren't going to be involved in the campaign. Why is that?
Dude, the campaign is brutal stuff, right? And if you're
Just because they
Ivanka-
played a significant role previously, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, certainly behind the scenes, it did a lot on, you know, on policy. It went down with the White House, but like doing it every day, like not, you have to have.
So full life commitment.
You gotta like, for me, it's like just I'm gonna be just attacked for the next 2 years. Like you gotta. She's a a mother, has 3 young kids. She's like she.
a mental battle.
She did her time. For me, again, I sort of. Different stomach for the criticism, right? And it's also even where she came from, right? Ivanka, you know, she's a big part of that New York social scene, and she, the people that, now hate her, like, loved her, and they were good friends, and like,
Must be
my
tough,
friends were always basically like, rednecks from upstate. I did my thing during the week, and I'd go up to my cabin in the Catskills on the weekends and hang out with like, real people, and like, it's a little different.
For sure.
And so, you see, everyone you used to know and love, and like, by the way, there was not a person in New York City, a mother in New York City that didn't want their daughters to turn out like Ivanka. And then, boom, just like they did to Trump, right? Whether it was, how many rap songs, 147, like all positive.
Yeah.
Like guys that, guys like, in
So
that
everyone
world that
likes
I've
him.
literally had dinner with.
Everyone likes him behind the scenes, though.
Yeah,
Even
like-
people like we
now
talk to that I won't maybe say their names, but like,
Yeah, and you don't
But
want to
some
call them out,
people
but, like,
have said
I've had
it
dinner with some of the
publicly,
guys
but-
that have been like vocal against, like,
Yeah.
hey dude, like, I don't know, I have your cell phone number, like,
Yeah.
we hung out, like, we partied together when I was younger, like,
but maybe they want to say it, but their wives won't let them say it too.
or
or
that,
something
like,
like
there's
that.
again,
You
sort of the consequence. By
It's
the way, where the
tough.
hell's Hezbollah?
He just
I
left.
only came here for Hezbollah. You didn't,
We
you
were
didn't
trying
bring
to
this
we were
shit,
trying
like,
to we were trying to get him to meet your father.
Oh,
Actually.
dude, you should have called me on that one, man.
I know,
Like,
fuck.
That would have been
Maybe next time if he
Pretty
comes
epic.
back. Maybe next time.
Damn.
That's how
Yeah.
we could start to end the Ukraine deal.
By the way, we can let Hezbollah broker this deal.
Yeah.
By the way, he'd probably do a better job than any of the idiots involved right now,
Probably,
right?
right? How do you think your father would end it in 24 hours? I've seen him say that.
Listen, I think there's just sort of a. I think you saw it, right? There's a respect issue for Trump. You look at Joe Biden and you see the way, and you're like, yeah, we can screw with those guys.
Yeah.
When you exude weakness, right? Like,
5 minutes remain.
it's different. When you're a bully and you see someone else that's actually, all of a sudden you're not so bullying, right? Trump did it in South Korea. You saw, they're like, oh, Trump's doing it all wrong. I'm like, really? He's the only guy that did anything right. Because the same people were doing the same wrong shit for 40 years, but because they're elite and they, there's no consequence to failure in Washington, D.C. You usually get a promotion. They could just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and like, doesn't actually happen. So, I think there's an element of, understanding. There's an element of respect. I think there's an element
Enemy
of
team
just,
nearing victory.
the way he would get it done. He actually understands how to get deals done.
He does,
He
yeah.
did that for decades, like prior to politics. And, most of these guys in politics, it's like, it's like their first time playing in the game. You know what I mean? And like understanding how things actually work. And
Getting a deal done. is
we're not
specific
exactly
skill.
sending our best.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back to the AI thing, just overall, in general, how this all speeds up. And if we're talking about seeing real change and having real change, like if, for example, everyone, they watch this news outlet because they side here, they watch this news outlet because they side here, it becomes like an echo chamber. And then the things you find because of algorithms and the way social media works, it's just a constant regurgitation of those ideas. And then if you fall outside of that, if you're left, you look right, you look left, and then you go, oh, that can't be right because this is what I'm listening to. Now you start to think about AI and the way this is furthering, because people don't necessarily do any sort of their own actual due diligence.
No, 100%.
Like, how do we I don't even want to say fix this, but how do people start to, like, you try to make that app where you're like, hey, here's all sides, and it's, they're like, fuck
and
this.
you still get canceled.
So it's like, how do we actually fight back against this thing that's going to come where it's like AI and this shit's going to get so good that, like, you don't know if you said that, if I said this, if he said that. And then, and where you're getting your information now, you might just see something and be like, oh, he said that, and I don't know what to think of it, or I think
you
this
read,
of it.
if you read stuff from the left, you read stuff from the right, you read 5 articles, and like it's literally like AI just said, hey, change them up a little bit. Like, it's all the same shit.
Right.
And that's sort of scary. I mean, I could see AI just basically replacing most journalists, right? I mean, it was sort of the joke from a few years ago. Remember, learn to code. Like a couple farmers lost their jobs. How they should learn to code? It's like, well, no, journalists may have to learn to code because they're regurgitating nonsense. There's not many of them that are creating anything, frankly, new or novel. There's a couple independent guys doing great work.
It's also gotten really interesting to me because obviously I've been on social media for many years, not in politics at all, but social media and the way social media works, and knowing as like a YouTuber or creator, you have to make this like sort of clickbait content, this ideas. It's going to get people to be like, oh my God, this is scary or this is bad. And that's all just everyone does. And now it's getting into politics now where it's like, oh, I could be a news journalist and I could write this hit piece or this thing about this person, and I'm gonna get the most traffic.
And you read the article like, oh, but that's like,
that's
not even a big deal. And
but
yet
that's
the headline
the
grabbed you because everything is generated by clickbait. That's
exactly.
Why, again, I think you just got to start like looking away from the mainstream sources. Like I try to on like MXM, we try to like promote even some of the sort of a lot of the independent stuff. There we go. So you can see guys that aren't sort of beholden to corporate. Like I look at even, you look at some of even the big conservative stuff. Like you look at their social media stuff. I'm like, well, what is that newsworthy? Like it's like these articles are like bullshit, and it's like why is that? Oh, it's just clickbait for some person, so they get the click. It's not really newsworthy. It's not really important. It's gossip nonsense, and yet like that's their revenue model these days. And so
do you think?
Well, that's what's crazy because it is about money, and I don't think people listening really understand maybe this fully.
Dude, it's all about money.
Is that like
literally everything in the world is about
because
that.
It's like if I can get if I can get
these days, it's unfortunate, but like.
Yeah,
it is.
It's all about clicks.
Like if you want to figure out what's going on, follow the money.
Do you think
literally, it's the most basic aspect of all of these things.
Do you think they're gonna ban TikTok?
I hope they don't ban TikTok. I think that would be a mistake, and I'm not a fan. I won't put it on my phone. I wouldn't want my kids to have it. I'm not into banning stuff in America. I wouldn't want their servers to be like maybe host the like maybe make that independent because there's no question they're spying on everyone that has it. And you do something stupid as a 16-year-old, which we all did, and like 20 years later, the Chinese government will weaponize that against you. There's no question. Like that information is being saved. Every click that you ever did, they will use that and they will weaponize it against you. That's happening. So maybe there's a way to isolate the servers. Force that to go through a place where
that search history, dog.
But by the way,
fuck.
Yeah,
boys are screwed.
Your face was so funny on that.
Wait a minute. But I don't think that Facebook is doing anything less other than maybe they're not selling it to the Chinese government yet. Like I'm not saying that like TikTok's the only evil actor in all of this. I think we need a lot more protections on our information that has nothing to do. If you put a stupid video on TikTok and that gets used against you later, that's fine. If they're looking at your Pornhub search history, that's a little bit worse. So I'm lucky,
especially his, dude.
You guys are young. Like I'm old as shit. Like the greatest thing that ever happened to me in life is that we didn't have cameras in our pockets 100% of the time. Like when I was in high school and college, doing stupid high school and college shit, and I did plenty of it. These days, like I tell my kids, I'm like, you can't be like a normal kid used to be because like one of your moron friends may be innocently like videoing it or whatever, and one day that's gonna come back to bite you in the ass.
We're aware of that though, of course.
Yeah, you are, but like not everyone thinks of that. A couple happy dads in, and like all of a sudden, those inhibitions go away, and you say something like, it's scary shit, man. Like, it is. And in today's world, especially you. Especially if it was my kids, like, if you're not like radical on the other side, man, like anything you're guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. Like we've seen that change and shift has happened a lot. And so you just have to be a lot more cognizant of shit that you wish that I didn't have to be as a kid. Like I could be a dumb kid.
What do you think?
Even into my 20s and do stupid shit and like have a good time. And it's like, whew, like, I'm glad there's no documentation of that night.
Yeah.
But it's no different than anything anyone did probably for hundreds of years of like stupid adolescence, right? But today, that can ruin, that literally end your life.
Oh yeah. What do you think about?
Facts.
Didn't Utah just pass something where you have to be 18 or older to use social media?
I think you need a parental consent to be on one of the platforms, which probably not. I don't think that's crazy. Especially again when you see what some of these platforms are pushing and where they're going. That yes, let a parent make that decision. There's a lot of people that don't want that. Like again, we don't.
Social media is
parents
fucked.
shouldn't have any
It's-
say about what your kid learns in school. I'm like,
I think it's kind of
Really?
wild.
Like-
Yeah.
like, really? But that's the narrative, and
There's kids that can have careers now at 16 because of TikTok.
I see
Which
it.
is pretty
I see
wild.
it all the time. It's like it's that had serious careers.
Yeah.
Do you monitor that with your kids at all, or like how is it
they
dealing
don't,
with
they,
that?
don't have, they don't have TikTok. I don't.
Do they
my
like
younger
ever
kids,
beg
that,
you for it or no?
They probably watch a little bit too much of sort of YouTube shit, like there's, and again, you try
Every
to
kid
balance
does,
the
though,
best of it, but sort of.
It's kind of
you
like
know,
the new TV
Yeah,
for
like
kids, though,
yesterday,
too,
I was
right?
stuck at an airport for 14 hours. You know what I mean? I was with my daughter and her friend, and I took her away for spring break for like just a weekend, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Maybe do some homework and read also, but like,
Must
okay,
be
like,
tough as a parent
it's
right
brutal,
now, man.
right? You sort of see it. It's like, it's a pretty convenient babysitter sometimes. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing other things. I just think you're probably not doing other things 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and so it's an easy thing. So I don't, but I have no problem with a parent having to consent to a kid using a platform. I think that's sort of no different than anything else would have been.
Have you experienced that as a parent where your kid has come to you and asked you some like an outrageous question where you're like, where did you hear that? Or
Oh yeah, I see that, or like, dude, they're like, little kids are smart, man. They figure this shit out. Like I'm good on social media. I'm not a tech savvy guy per se. You know what I mean? I'm not clueless, but like, probably have some boomer tendencies in terms of what's really going on. And like, I see them and they're like, oh, Dad, just do this. I'm like, you're 10 years old. Like what?
Crazy.
So it's almost like what scares me is not what I know they're doing. It's what I'm not sure.
what they're seeing?
It's what I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they're probably as advanced as I am. Like, again, I'm good at creating content. Maybe good at talking shit or making that aspect, go viral.
Right.
But like, behind the scenes, I don't know. So it's what they're doing. Are they having some weird chat? Is there some weirdo getting into their?
Has any of this changed the way that you've parented yourself, like your kids?
We try to just be as reasonable on it as possible. And we're not super strict on it, but they don't. Only my daughter really has a social account, and
I see.
she's sort of limited that just to her golf stuff because she's just really good at it, and
feel
it's
like-
good. But that doesn't mean but they're
It's tough,
surfing
too.
and they're seeing stuff, and
And then if other kids
again,
have it, like,
I've seen I've seen the like weird text
Slay.
messages from. I'm like, is that your actual friend? Oh yeah, well no. Well, how did they get that? Like, I think it was probably just spam, but like all of a sudden, it's an adult having a conversation with a kid, and you're like, what the fuck?
fuck.
Oh, dude, it's scary stuff, man. It's that stuff's real.
And for them,
it's-
they're
it's
just
scary.
born in this
they
digital
don't
age.
know any different. They're
Yeah.
psyched to have a friend that they're talking to, and like, that's the whole point. Like, kids are very impressive.
Rack up the
Kids are-
most kills to achieve victory.
they just they don't have that sort of nefarious
Yeah.
outlook on life that I have after sort of experiencing this stuff, right, and seeing it with my own eyes.
I feel like you've gotten into some DM battles with some trolls for sure.
Right. More
Quite
than
a few.
More than a few. Yeah, oftentimes. But the reality is, what's sort of interesting about it, like, I actually try not to. I don't even engage. I usually don't even read. I'll read my comments and stuff like that because, like, depending on where it is, there's a lot more. Let's say, like, my IG account will have a lot more sort of fans than like Twitter, which is just all hate. And that's fine. Like, I'm happy to play in both worlds. I'm just not going to read the comments on a post I make on Twitter because it doesn't actually do anything for me. And engaging in that battle, I may just battle with the idea, but not the individual, because I don't want to build up another clown and give them a platform.
Nice.
To my 10 million followers or whatever it is, and like all of a sudden some douchebag with 50 followers is like, I'll pick a fight with the idea. But not necessarily engage
No.
directly with them because, like, why
'cause
would
then
I?
they win, yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying Twitter is like a lot of hate.
Oh, dude, Twitter's like 90.
Yeah.
Again, I still play on. We have
I
True
love
Social.
Twitter.
Yeah, I like it because I'm okay. I'm comfortable
Playing there.
in that uncomfortable
yeah.
space.
Yeah.
That we were talking about sort of earlier. Not everyone is comfortable in that space, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But like, I think for there to actually be dialogue going forward, we all have to get a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable.
They never
Do
saw
you think your
coming.
father returns to social media? Because I saw even his YouTube ban is up now.
The YouTube is,
Twitter obviously is up.
Yeah, how come you?
Yeah, well,
Is
that's what I think.
Facebook up too?
Facebook's up, maybe do some stuff there. I think Twitter probably not, as, just because, again, they spend all the time, build your own, and then they put up every roadblock to you actually doing that. It sounds like a great soundbite, and then they try to, they don't want to let you on Apple, and they don't want to let you on the Google Store, so you can't actually get the app on, so you go through all this process of like building your own, like you did with True Social, and it's like, oh, well, then okay, we'll let you back on Twitter now that is, I don't know. Listen, I guess it would be a powerful tool, but
Before the
there's
election.
there's a component about it. And even I don't know, but for you guys, but like for me,
Double kill.
it was interesting watching like Twitter before, dude.
Shooting.
I was getting crushed. I was one of the original guys, be like, "Hey, dude, they're censoring." Like years ago, they're like, "How do you know that?" It's like, well, because yesterday I was getting 10,000 retweets. Today I'm getting not 4,000. Like something changed. Like you'd have to be an idiot to not see that. And then when sort of the Musk takeover looked like it was going to happen, dude, like I gained like 500,000 new followers in like a period of a week, and like all my engagement was through the roof, and then it looked like the deal was going to fall through, and then it was like they were burning the file. You know what I mean? They released all the stuff that they were releasing, then it looked like it was going to fail again, and it just shut it off again. And then he took over, and there was like a good, a month or two where it felt good, but honestly for me now, like, Twitter
shot,
like,
kid. You deserve to die.
worse than it was prior to the takeover.
What about it? Just
listen, I think the reality, you could fire a lot of people, but I think the inmates are still running the asylum. Right? Like Twitter, like if you looked at like the donations by political party of like Twitter, it was like 99.2% one way. So like you can get rid of a lot of people, but I think, I don't know, Elon Musk's a genius. But I don't know that he can monitor each and every one of these things. I think the people in big tech are so heavily skewed one way that, they'll sort of figure out a way to screw. Like I don't think Mark Zuckerberg could be like, you know what, Facebook is going to go neutral right now. Like if he got red pilled and like went neutral right now, I don't think it would change anything in the platform. Literally everyone that's a part of allowing these things to happen can put up some sort of little roadblock there, and there's just not enough time and manpower of someone who would actually want there to be neutrality to actually effectuate that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is there still like a lot of censorship going on Twitter though?
I just feel like I hear from a lot of people on our on the conservative side of things that they're like, so there's no like, Now again, I think that's also a component. If I'm going to be on it, like I think there's a component of like I just think the vast majority of the people on Twitter are also one way. But like I can see stuff, and dude, you guys spend enough time. Like when I hit send, like I know what's going big and what isn't, and what sort of that's a fine tweet, and maybe you got to make a point or like, and I know like that's going to go hot, and when hot goes like 1,000 retweets in the first 20 minutes, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like, yeah.
That same principle though, right? Where it's like that one guy can't monitor and change all of this, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of the same thing as like with the presidency? Is like the guy can be in
100%.
charge, and then it's like,
and that's why I think you got to break down the systems fully. You got to, and that's perhaps what we didn't do going in first. It's like, the president's the most powerful guy in the world.
Terrible
No,
right now.
The underling of the underling can just slow play something.
right?
You know what I mean? That's why I want like pushing so hard for the people in Congress now in these investigations. I just want transparency. We heard so much about this is going to be the most transparent administration ever, but it doesn't seem like they want any transparency in a lot of these issues. Origins of COVID, whatever the issue may be. So, let's get that and let people make up their own mind. But, we got to get there, and there's a lot of bureaucracy that's going to try to slow that spread of information out.
Yeah, it just seems like, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems like it's just fucked.
But I think that's the point. Like, I think they're trying, like, I think part of the game of it is just to try to make you feel hopeless.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's why I don't, and maybe it's why I hit it as hard as I do. 'Cause, right, I don't want to believe that it's over. I think there's a point where you probably get past a critical juncture where you can't go back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, maybe we're getting closer to that than we'd like to believe. But, like, I do still think we can combat that, and we have to. And the other side does want you to go, hide in a corner, curl up in a ball, and die. They're saying,
Don't you do it,
out loud. Not even pretending anymore. So we got to push back.
Who's saying that out loud specifically?
You're seeing it. I mean,
just with the moves they're making.
Yeah, the moves they're making, the attacks on this. You see, every day. There's not sort of like. They're not pretending they want the best for everyone. Like they would put people who believe what I believe in the gulags if they could. Look at the treatment of like the January 6th people versus the people from the Summer of Love of 2020. You can burn down buildings, you can take over government offices, you can
What was that? The Summer of Love. What's that?
Like 2020, like the
Okay.
riots.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's what he started this summer.
it's the summer.
Is
of
that when
love.
they had,
That was the media.
He was
Remember?
off with that too. I was
Do you
like, what
remember
the fuck
on
is
the?
Remember the mostly peaceful protest? I'm like, dude, there's a fucking building burning in the background. Like,
that's
the guy
where-
hit
hold
the
on.
head
Do you
with a
remember
brick, and
the-
he's like,
hold
it's
on,
mostly
hold
peaceful.
on.
I'm like,
Yeah, I
"Ah."
gotta ask you about this. Do you remember the autonomous zone of
Sniper
Chaz?
got him.
Yes. Like, but
Wait, hold
like, if that was reversed politically, like,
5
SEAL Team 6
minutes.
would have
Yo,
gone in there
that
and
was the
killed
funniest shit ever.
everyone. You know what I mean? But when they take over a government building and an entire few blocks of a city, well, it's in the name of social justice. Like, you can go loot a Gucci store for a nice pair of kicks. That's social justice, so it's different.
My favorite was
January 6th, you walk around taking a selfie, you spend 2 years in jail. Like, I don't know, dude. I'm not condoning, the few people who were violent, but like, they'd lead you to believe that everyone was violent. It was the first unarmed insurrection in the history of the world. Like, but that was the narrative. That was the gospel. If you disagreed, again, you were
Dude,
canceled.
one of the craziest ones was during the COVID thing. Was like during the riots. It was like they did this thing where they said, well, because they're outside, like, and there's like thousands and
Yeah,
thousands of
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're not gonna get COVID
Yeah,
though.
it's
That
not
was
cool.
LA.
No, they
Melrose.
did one in New York where they're like, it actually may be good. I'm like, wait, like, so that's not a super spreader. Like,
No.
a Trump rally was a super spreader event. This
That was
maskless,
fucking
insane.
riot in that was actually, there's actually a way it could be good.
Bro, I was insane.
To
I was
prevent
reading
COVID,
these.
and I'm like, wait a minute, like,
I
they
couldn't
think
believe
you're
it.
an imbecile.
That was the craziest shit to me.
You know what's interesting is how's history gonna look back on like what
Look at
happened
these
with
fucking
what
idiots.
happened with COVID though?
Bro,
Like, do you think
it's-
it'll be like? I feel like it'll be the narrative that will be written, right? Like, I
Well,
don't.
no, I mean, listen, history is written by the victors, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it
Nice.
depends. I think right now it probably doesn't look good
Nearing
on
victory.
a lot of those people and the government and and everything that they want to. But you'll allow this stuff to continue. I mean, think of what we've
What a
learned
moment in time,
about
man.
Fauci and
Yeah.
funding the
Yeah.
They knew it all. You look at his emails to his colleagues and what he said publicly were like literally polar opposites, and like no problem. Like the media didn't have a problem with that. Like,
Yeah, just
they
forget
just
it.
lied to the people. Like we'll do it. It can hurt Trump. That's good for the narrative. Therefore, it must be the gospel.
Yeah, that's what just got out of control, man. That's
I think
where
if there's an elite, they look and they said, "Oh, we got these guys. Like, we got
These
these
fucking
we got
idiots, dude.
society by the
and
balls."
we signaled to them that we're giving you the opening, right? We
That's
gotta
what
wear a
that
mask,
shows.
and I'm really paranoid about something that's
No
if
scope.
you didn't, I'm not saying it wasn't real, but if you didn't have a pre-existing condition, if you're a young guy like yourself and healthy, like you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, statistically, you're fine. Like, common cold's fine. Now, if you had a pre-existing condition, you're real. You gotta take that more seriously. But like that, everyone had.
I
and then
deserve
more
to die
importantly,
there.
Everyone just fell into line.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but like
And just
guys
how
like
long
me be
they
like,
kept
I don't
everything
understand,
closed.
but like so many people just it was just easier to fall into line and be a sheep.
Yeah.
And that was what was scary to me because I think that signaled to those around the world that want to push for that kind of control over people. Like, hey man, it'll be easier to get that kind of control.
For me, I have one example. I kept my gym open during the whole pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I got caught up in California, my gym's in California. And then I got to, I don't know, like 10, 15 court dates. And then at the end of it, they were like, all right, never mind.
So you just
Yeah,
want
that way
that.
if you were willing to wait out the
But that's-
intimidation or and could afford it.
Exactly.
But
That's the
bigger
problem.
part, right?
That's
Like,
the big problem.
That's
No
what
scope.
maybe they weren't
Double
expecting with
kill.
Trump. It's like, we're in this thing where like,
fitting
between like
commendation.
bullshit, like impeachment one, that like hundreds of millions of dollars, probably legal fees, right? Like, well, we can weather that. The average person can't.
That's the biggest
So they were
problem.
just hoping for just pure submission, and that's the problem. Like, that's all they'll accept, right? Like, you've seen.
Well, because they
sort of
ruined a
the-
bunch of people's lives.
Oh,
man.
they destroyed lives. They destroyed businesses based on lies.
Right,
They
that's where...
didn't care. Like, well, guess what? Like, Starbucks was essential, but your little local coffee shop, that
Man, I
wasn't.
could talk about this all day.
You know what I mean?
IKEA's
Like,
open the whole
Walmart
time.
is
This shit
super
I-
essential, but like your local convenience store isn't. I'm like, well, why?
Bro,
oh,
in the
because
same...
those guys can write a really big check to lobbyists and like,
Hey,
well, we'll get the exemption.
did you-
Fuck that, dude.
in
That's
this-
bullshit.
in
And like,
this-
but it happened.
The same county that I was in,
Yeah.
the LA County, and I lived in Woodland Hills, you were able, and it's okay to film pornography indoors
Yes.
because it's entertainment, in the same sort of like you can't be in a gym.
Yes.
So it's just like there was no, it was.
Yeah, again, there wasn't as big a lobby for the small business owner that
course.
no one could fight for that guy. That's
Yeah.
That's why for me I was getting really vocal about this stuff at the time, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And turns out I was right. But we know that now. But it didn't stop them from destroying all these businesses because so many people went along with it.
Yeah. And even
You
the
know-
gym, and they come back later and they're like, yeah, all this stuff's actually,
Yeah,
you
but
should
how much
be
did you
doing
end up
this.
spending?
Oh, a ton.
Yeah. Like and you were lucky to weather that storm. Other people were broken by that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people just literally lost their business and their livelihood. Imagine I spent my whole life to open a gym and I didn't have all this other social media shit. I'd have been under. My whole life would be different.
Yeah,
Like it would be gone.
of course.
And that's what happened to 99% of people because they didn't have, the other things that I was able
No,
to.
listen.
Like,
Hey, we're in hotels.
yes.
You think that was fun during the pandemic? Like, it's brutal. Just trying to keep, I mean, just even trying to keep people employed when you weren't allowed to operate a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we did a lot with that, just trying to keep crushing the business, just keep people on the payroll. Like, let's get through, 1 week, one more week, come on, we can, you know what I mean? And then it took so long to ramp that back up. Like, that was brutal. But man, like, some of these people who were with us for 20 years, like, you got to do what you can. But like, and then, they made all the, the funding for, companies around the world, but they carved out Trump Organization. I was like, well, why? Well, because he's the guy. It's like, we hate him. I was like, yeah, but how are we different than, like, the hotel across the street that gets PPE funding to be able to keep their people around? Like, you're not hurting us. You're hurting the dude making, the bellman at a hotel. But that didn't matter. That, again, it's like we were able to get Trump with a soundbite. It's like, well, what about the thousands of people that Trump actually employs? Like, you don't really care so much about them. If you're cannon fodder to them, if they can win a headline and get the clickbait that they stuck it to Trump. Like,
Yeah.
it's just stupid, but it's the game.
Well,
I hate to
here's
call it a game, but it is.
Perspective from my situation too is a little interesting because there's a gym up the street, there's a gym down the street, but I was like most out there on the internet.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine how many accounts I have breaking the same thing, which is like not listening to their order. I had about 61. The gym up the street, the gym down the street, doing the same exact thing, even on a bigger scale. The one up the street, 1 count, 8 counts. I had 61, but that's because I'm on social media, showing what I'm doing, and people being like, "Oh, we got to get this guy." Like,
Right.
because
but again,
Victory.
they're going to target that opposition. They've shown that very clearly.
Yeah.
Like I said, again, the perfect example is the Summer of Love versus sort of J6, right? And again, I'm not saying there weren't people wrong on both sides, but like, there's people that literally like walk through the Capitol taking a selfie. They've been in jail for 2 years without like. I had some of them on my podcast, and one of the lawyers with these people on my old podcast, and it's like they've been in jail, like no due process. It doesn't matter, and then they're in D.C., so they get a biased judge that hates their judge. It doesn't matter, and other people literally burning down buildings. They're heroes. Like, I don't understand. But
Well, how do you think they should have been treated then?
listen, I think if someone did something violent, you gotta sort of follow the law. I think if someone walked through, and again, like you look at the video now, and we've seen that, right? But they wouldn't release the video because they knew the video wouldn't line up with the narrative that they sold. Right? You see grandmothers like walking around, taking selfies, like they're just like, honestly, there are people in the building that didn't know that they weren't even allowed to be in that building by that point.
and some of the people are arrested.
Deserve to die.
Some of those people have been in jail for 2 years. They did
Oh,
nothing
shit.
violent, just being present.
Oh
You
shit!
know,
I didn't know
and
that.
they're still in jail.
What?
Yeah, no, but that's the point. No one can even
man.
tell it. Like,
Weren't you there, Brad?
Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. That's funny. That's me. I got that picture taken down. You talking about the guy with the horns?
Yeah, wasn't that
That
you?
wasn't me.
That
dude.
wasn't you or
no,
the
no.
QAnon shaman?
Nah, that's funny, you guys. But it's funny because I posted that
Yeah, but
picture.
see, he's worried about the FBI coming and paying him.
No. I posted that picture because
You're now on a list.
so many people were messaging me. Were like, "Yo, is this you?" I posted it and was like, "This is not me," and it got removed like for inciting violence or some shit on Instagram.
This was Brad.
That wasn't
No,
me.
it was, okay, that's
100%.
Make sure everyone sees it so the FBI can track him down
We'll
using
pop it
facial
up.
recognition. Oh, that's hilarious. Literally, dude, you're on a list.
Look, it's not me. It's some other guy.
Here it
Forget his
is.
name.
Here it is. Likely story.
So last thing, I guess we'll go back to like 2024. How do you see it playing out? Do you think DeSantis runs for sure? Is
Yeah,
that
I think he
already
runs.
set in
Listen,
stone?
I think that's foregone conclusion. It's a matter of when they announce. But again,
How do you see that playing out?
it's gonna do what it is. Like, I'm not too worried about it. But again, follow the money. Like, you got to remember the political consultants that are getting 10% for your TV ad buy and 20% for this, and like, there's so much money to be made. Running a campaign that will generate a lot of money and billionaire dollars. Like, the political consultant class will not allow him not to run. They're pushing it because, like, there's the amount of money that will be made in that cycle by that group of individuals who are very political, who have a lot of power. Like, if he doesn't run, they don't make any money this cycle because we're not bringing him on because frankly, many of them are the scum of the earth. And like,
So it sounds like he wins.
that's
Sounds
their
like he
livelihood.
wins. Then.
No, it has nothing to do with. It doesn't matter. Like, don't kid yourself. Like, many of these guys have done this over and over every cycle for years. They've made millions of dollars. Their candidates lose all the time. But they're still making money, right? They're still a TV ad buy for 9 months of a primary, and they're making 10, 20% every time there's a TV commercial of the spend, right? So they're taking
headset was on the
donor
like,
money.
backwards, so I was hearing things on my
online,
left
they're
side
taking,
that was happening on my right.
Some of these things, like the donors,
I feel like it's going
stuff,
crazy.
like they're taking 90% of the money and 10% is going to the candidate, and then they'll run an ad and they'll run it with their friend who owns the company, and they get a kickback for the commercial. Like, it's the biggest grift in the world. And so there's so many people that are gonna, like, it's their livelihood, and they're not gonna not make millions of dollars this cycle as individuals by not allowing him to do it, or say, hey, take a pass, you run in 4 years, you know, we'll shore up your thing, you know, finish off a term as governor as you just ran. Like, no. We're all gonna make a shit ton of money, so you have to run. It's the only way. Like, the amount of pressure being put on that and the donor class, and like, that's what people don't get about, you know, that whole system. Like, it's literally, it's a big
Win or
money
lose.
game.
Win or lose.
They're making money. They make money. That's why none of those people, when Trump ran in 16, it's why he never got any of those big names, because they're like, oh, that's never going to happen. I'm going to stick with Jeb because that's the easy money. Right? If the DeSantis is the establishment billionaire donor class, he's like, that's a shitload of money. Yeah, these guys are going to stroke, you know, 7, 8 figure checks. You know, we're going to get 20% of that each and every time, and there's hundreds of them doing it. It's a lot of money to be made. And they're not going to not make that money. They're not going to sit out the cycle and, you know, do a couple congressional races, a couple Senate races. You know, they're going to go with the big money.
Wait, so you're saying there's people that are like donor agents that are taking a cut
the donors donate, and then the agents skim off of everything that the money was
So
supposed
they'll
to go
take
to,
like a
right?
standard like 15 off the donation?
15 would be cheap in many cases.
That's
Like,
fucking crazy.
even on the donation, right? The people brokering those things, sometimes they'll take 20% of the the actual donation, and then you take $100
And that's
goes
like a
to a
fact.
TV commercial, and then this guy's buddy is getting paid to produce the commercial, and this guy's buddy is getting a percentage of placing the commercial, getting a percentage of the cost just to run the commercial. This guy's making that money, and they've got to have organizations that basically have their hand in every aspect of this thing, to the tune of, like, you know, there's guys that will make 8 figures, who are just political consultants. They'll make 8 figures this year on just that campaign alone, probably.
What a fucking world
So there's
we
no
live in.
way it's not happening, because, in my opinion, because of that. Now, you could say, hey, maybe the smarter thing is, hey, you know, Trump, do it now. He's leading in the polls. He's got a shot. Focus on being good. You can be the leader of the pack for 4 years, so you can get a natural run. Like, that would make a lot of sense.
But you
Way
think
too
there's
much
no-
like this. I think that would be logical.
They can't hold on to that
there's
money?
too many powerful people who can, you know, probably work something out with their donors. But again, the consultants do not want that to happen, because, again, if you're holding on the money, they're not, you know, you need to turn to make money, right? You're not getting a percentage if the money's not being spent or raised.
Oh my God!
But they're getting, whether it's spent or raised, they're getting a piece of all of the action. And that's the big, you know, scam in all of that game.
Wish it could have been Trump DeSantis together, right?
Yeah, there is something constitutionally about you can't have 2 people from the same state actually, you know, running. But you know, it seems that, you know, probably not likely right now.
Is there any options on who you think the VP could be on the?
I don't know. I think it depends. So, you know what I mean? I think there's probably a couple people that, you know, there's a couple people that I like, and there's probably a couple people that could be, and I don't, you know, I'm not sure those are entirely concentric circles.
Can you say like a group of 5?
Nah.
I
was trying to get the answer.
I had to try.
Yeah, listen, I think that's probably, you know, there's probably some natural ones, and I think there's probably some that, you know, people, you know, wouldn't expect. You know, I think you have something, you know, you probably don't need, you know, two Trumpian type characters. I think you probably want something to balance some of that out.
It's interesting.
But it'll be interesting. Brutal, but interesting.
Very. Yeah, I think this was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Appreciate you
man.
coming
Appreciate
here.
it.
Good
Part
to be
2.
back with
I'm
you
sure we'll
guys.
do a part 3 with you
How long are
soon.
you guys in town?
We leave Wednesday? Or no, we might be here till Friday. Yeah, we might stick around.
Are you coming back for the...
They brought some
UFC,
food.
Miami.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
be-
taking forever. It even took long to cancel. Never be your beast of burden.
Rack up the most kills to achieve victory.
Enemy Spartans are closing in.
You're quite lethal with that.
Lost the lead.
Don't think twice next time.
Son of a bitch. Nice.
Lost a teammate. Spartan down. My shield's popped.
Active camo inbound.
Active camo here.
Active camo available. A well-placed plasma.
Close. Enemy shields down.
blinding.
Wall.
Good kill.
Double kill.
Active camo
Thank you.
inbound.
Thank you.
Spartan down.
Active camo available.
We're close. Enemy is below us.
No more grenades.
Eyes up.
They'll think twice next time. Plasma grenades obtained.
Keep your head down. Enemy Spartans are closing in.
Active camo inbound. How very surgical. Good shooting, Spartan. Active camo available.
Shields down.
Killing spree.
A red letter day indeed.
VK-78 Commando here.
Damn it.
They're under us.
Nearing victory.
Lost a teammate.
Tango closing in.
5 minutes remaining.
Shields are down.
Enemy shield down.
Active camo inbound. Active camo available.
Up there.
kill.
Victory.
Sorry. Days on the range.
King of the Hill. Hill incoming.
There's a hill that needs conquering, Spartan. I bet that was a surprise.
What the fuck killed him?
Hill ready.
You're close.
Hill controlled.
They'll think twice next time.
No,
Enemy team took the hill.
it's terrible.
Outstanding. They'll think twice next time.
Off the rack.
Enemy shield.
Enemy about to score.
Stay mobile!
Hill control. Enemy team took the hill.
Active camo inbound.
Enemy Spartans are closing in.
Hill controlled.
Active camo available. Expertly thrown, Spartan.
Keep your head down. Another one down.
Team took the hill. Enemy team scored. Hill incoming.
They're close.
Hill ready. Enemy team took the hill.
Look at H.
Spartan down. Tango's closing in.
Hill controlled. Enemy team took the hill. Enemy about to score.
Enemy Spartans are closing in. Enemy shields down.
Active camo inbound.
Enemy team scored. Hill incoming. Hill ready.
Active camo available.
Enemy Spartans are closing in.
They're under us.
Enemy team took the hill.
He's camo first. Stationary as well. Killed myself.
Hill controlled.
You're quite lethal with that.
Hill controlled.
I hate this fucking game type.
Hill controlled.
Lost the team.
Down there.
I just killed myself.
Enemy team took the hill.
Enemy Spartans are closing.
Take it back.
A well-placed plasma.
Enemy about to score. Hill controlled.
Active camo inbound.
Another one down.
Your team about to score.
Another one put down. Active camo available.
Your team scored. Hill incoming. Hill ready. Hill controlled.
I don't you kill either.
Enemy team took the hill. Enemy team took the hill. Enemy about to score.
So we stop fucking watching and get the fuck in there.
Camo inbound.
Enemy team scored.
Dumbasses.
Hill incoming. Hill ready. Enemy team took the hill.
Plasma grenades obtained.
Enemy Spartan has active camo.
Hill control.
Get the fuck in the circle. I don't get you guys.
Enemy team took the hill.
Here's
Closing in.
Hill control. Enemy team took the hill.
Shields are down.
Hill control. Enemy team took the hill.
Active camo inbound.
Enemy team nearing victory. Hill control. Your team about to score.
Echo's closing in.
big kill. Stay alive.
Enemy team took the hill.
Don't let it happen. Someone. Do it.
Your team scored. Hill incoming. Hill ready. Enemy team took the hill. Enemy team took the hill.
They're close.
Stay mobile.
Enemy team took the hill. Hill control.
Up.
Shields are down.
Camo inbound.
Enemy team took the hill.
Another one down.
Stay alert.
Pop their shields.
Damn it.
Hill control. Your team about to score. Your team scored. Hill incoming. Hill ready. Enemy team took the hill.
Tango is close.
We've lost a teammate. is up.
Hill control.
Yeah,
Enemy
behind
team
that
took
fucking
the
pillar.
hill.
That's how you. Doesn't seem likely.
Another one down.
Hill control.
Fucking bullshit. Nice. No, nice.
Enemy team took the hill.
Active camo available.
Hill control.
Keep it up.
What? I didn't know they were that close. That sucks. A whole lot of death.
Oddball. Round one. Ball incoming.
Hold on for as long as possible to win.
We have the ball. Ball dropped. We have the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball.
Mother shit.
Overshield available.
Enemy overshield is active. We've lost a teammate.
Enemy there!
Tango's closing in.
Lost a teammate!
Enemy halfway to victory.
Can't move because of this fucking push out of the pillar. we gotta. Nice.
Ball dropped. Ball incoming.
Another one down.
You're not gonna grab it, you pussy.
It's yours. Keep it that way to score.
Ball dropped.
My shield's fine.
Enemy has the ball.
Tango's closing in. Pop their shields.
Enemy team nearing victory. Ball dropped.
Seize the skull.
Down west.
Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball.
Keep it up.
Round 2. Ball incoming.
We've come back from worse.
Target spotted. In my sights.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
Why are we on their side of the fucking map and the ball's by us? What are they doing?
Enemy has the ball.
Overshield available.
Guys are just wasting sniper bullets.
Enemy Spartans are closing in.
Ball dropped. We have the ball. Ball dropped.
Hold on to that and we win.
In my
Ball dropped.
target spotted.
Close.
Gained the lead.
Lost a teammate.
Ball dropped. Enemy has
I
the
had a
ball.
grenade, but I didn't.
In my sights.
Lost the lead.
Spartan down.
You're quite lethal with that. Overshield inbound.
Ball dropped. Double kill.
Overshield available.
Can we protect me?
Ball dropped.
It's yours. Keep it that way to score.
Gained the lead. Ball dropped. Halfway to victory.
My shield's popped.
They're close. Shields are down.
Target spotted.
S7 sniper inbound.
Ball dropped.
Twice next time.
Killing spree. Double kill. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Sniper. Shields down.
Ball dropped.
Overshield inbound.
Taking cover.
We have the ball. Gained the lead. Lost the lead. Nearing victory. Ball dropped.
We've lost possession.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
Enemy Spartans are closing in.
We have the ball.
Three fucking defense, please.
Ball dropped.
Nice. Get the ball. Don't worry about killing. We have 10 seconds. Get retarded.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
We've lost possession.
Spartan down.
Be proud, Spartan.
Another one down. Down there.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
In my sights.
Outstanding. Power items en route. It's yours. Keep it that way to score.
Target spotted.
Mopping us up.
We have the ball. Round one. Ball incoming.
A win is in reach, Spartan.
Shields.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
Allied carrier down. Overshield available.
Overshield is mine.
We lost another one to that sniper.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Tango's closing in.
Enemy has the ball.
They're under us.
Ball dropped.
Target spotted.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball.
Hanging on. I ain't dead yet. I ain't hear no bell.
In.
Ball dropped.
An ally has slain the carrier. Overshield inbound.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Keep a tight grip on that, Spartan.
Ball dropped.
Enemy there.
We've lost a teammate.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Enemy halfway to victory. Ball dropped.
Not today, friend.
Shield it out.
It's yours. Keep it that way to score.
Ball dropped.
S7 sniper inbound. S7 sniper available.
Tango's closing it. Enemies are.
Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball.
Nice shot. Finish him.
Ball dropped.
Hostile carrier down.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
We've lost possession. Overshield inbound.
In my sights.
Ball dropped.
Overshield available.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Another one down.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Down there. They're close.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Hostile carrier down.
In my sights.
Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
We've lost a teammate.
Come on. The first shot should have hit. Terrible grenade. Shoot him.
Enemy has the
Once.
ball.
Breathe on him.
Ball dropped.
Tango's closing in.
Hold on to that and we win.
Ball dropped. Ball incoming. We have the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Enemy team nearing victory. Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped.
Keep your head down.
Power items have arrived.
Enemy Spartan.
1 minute remaining. Enemy has the ball.
Enemy overshield is active.
Nice. We got this. Pick up the ball somewhere.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
Allied carrier down. Keep
These
a
kids
tight
act
grip
like
on
it's
that
real
spot.
life. Like they don't run any. Oh, they're coming.
Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Defeat.
It's pretty much like no one else touched the fucking ball. I had it for 2 minutes. They had it for 24 seconds. I don't even care about the stupid objective, but apparently. They can't touch the ball. Think. I'm going to stop. But, comma, follow, not but follow. If you're there. Or not. always forget the next words, but I'll be on Monday at some point. Not tomorrow. I'll see you guys later. Adios.